How's everybody doing? I know that Dr. Banks is doing well. I see Elijah
Yes.
in the chat. Sabine, hopefully you're doing good over there and we get to hear you. And my sisters, the Lewis girls, who is basically, they're the founder of this channel. You guys can, hey, Sabine, I see you in the chat. Sisters, you can start with your introduction, and then I'll go to Dr. Banks, and then we'll go to Elijah and Sabine. So I'll mute my mic, and sisters, you can start.
Okay, hello everybody. Thanks for being a part of this live. So my name is Althea, and I'm one half of the Lewis Girls. We have our YouTube channel, which is Lewis Girls. We just basically talk about different topics like gun violence. We do challenges. We just do pretty much
different things.
yeah, different things. Yeah.
So my name is Renelle. I'm also one of the Lewis girls as well. And so like my sister said, our YouTube channel is Lewis Girls, and we do a lot of different YouTube videos. And this is like our second panel?
Third. But I
Third
think
panel?
one we weren't in.
So it's nice meeting everybody in the panel, and hopefully we get to know you guys even better during the conversations that we're going to have. So, yeah.
Yes. And thanks for everybody being a part of this panel.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
And I just wanted to add that the Lewis girls, my sisters, both Althea and Renelle, they also do show like tours around Toronto. In case you've never been to Toronto, you can look at their videos. They show.
I love Toronto.
Yeah. Oh, you've been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Without, disrupting, because I want to hear everything you have to say.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's good that you've been here because you might recognize some of the places that they have in their videos.
All right.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool looking at their videos. It reminds me of like some of the videos that they have in, I think it's Japan, where they have like tours. I think YouTube is have a ton of videos where you just kind of go on tours in different countries and or cities, and that's basically my sisters. That's what they do. So it's pretty cool. You should check them out. Okay, so Dr. Banks, you can go ahead, and I know that you have your camera on. We usually don't. Okay, you can keep it on. You can do whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Okay.
It's no pressure. Yeah.
So I appreciate being invited to the space. Please excuse me if I get any phone interactions, disruptions. Like I said, I normally like to use my tablet, but Marcus Jr. Has hijacked it. And I let him just because I just let them be free. Plus, it keeps them out of my workspace. So I was invited here to give a nice talk with regards to, am I hearing and understanding domestic violence. I am a domestic violence counselor. I used to be a domestic violence outreach and program manager. And so in doing so, I was running a program out in the Bay Area in support of women and children and men who were survivors of intimate partner violence and domestic violence.
That is super cool. And you also have a book. I did add your book in the chat for everybody
Thank
to
you.
see. Did you want to give a little bit of a background on your book as well to the audience?
Absolutely. So, yes, if you can see behind me there with the advent of virtual backgrounds, right? The title of my book is Dig Deep, the Psycho-Spiritual Handbook of Befriending Yourself using the 5x5 side-by-side guide, right? And so I put that together as the start of my clinical doctoral program, right, for psychology. It started as a class. I wanted to just kind of stay busy during my deployment overseas. while I was still an Army captain and chaplain. And then I found that after getting an A in the course, I wanted to continue with it. And so what I put together through my own, if you will, research and purposeful planning was how to support others in finding their purpose. And so I did research through the neuropsychology of self-discipline, as well as through my clinical chaplaincy, clinical doctoral program in psychology, as well as just kind of going through my grief and loss training, things of that sort, as well as my own situations and experiences within the book. I describe how I worked through grief and loss with respect to my brother's suicide. And with that, I came up with the foundation of all of our commonalities with respect to purpose. And I put them into, because, you know, I just like wordplay, faith, family, friends, fitness, and finances. Because these are the things that keep everyone up at night and really get us moving during the day. And through that, we find our purpose, right? And with planning, patience, and persistent perseverance, we can continue in living, if you will, healthy and holistic lives. So that's the premise of it. But don't judge a book by its cover, right? Because I even talk about on the finance piece, fractional reserve banking, talk about wisdom traditions. I've gone through monastery monastic studies. I've baptized numerous individuals in the River Jordan. That was a part of my experience. So it's deep, hence the title.
Wow. Wow. I just purchased a product from Elijah. It is a melatonin type of supplement. And I just supported another Black-owned business by the name of Arthur McQueen. It is a fashion line designed by Janine McQueen, which is the daughter of Arthur McQueen. And who else is there? There's another Black business that I supported. I can't remember who it is. Oh, my brother's business. And your book is the fourth business that I'm definitely, yes, your book,
that.
yes. Yep, it's on my list. There's a few of them. There's another writer, author who's on Fanbase. Fanbase is a newer app. It's about 2 years old now, probably 1 year. It's by Isaac Hayes. Isaac Hayes' son.
Right, yeah.
Yes, yes. So I joined that platform, and there are a bunch of content creators on there, entrepreneurs, and there are a ton of people on there that supporting. So your book is definitely on my list to get. And
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. And Elijah says here, I need the link to the book. I believe that's what he said.
I will make sure I'll put that link in there. As a matter of fact, it just went live. I was doing a bunch of, well, wait a minute. That looks like I'm just kind of holding up the virtual background. Anyways, I think I got about like 10 copies left. But you can go ahead and get it through the holiday sale on Amazon, read it through your Kindle and whatnot. So I'll put that link up there as well. And I always ask for folks to support it by not only purchasing it, but the first, before it even came out in print, I submitted it to Reader's Favorite. It got a 5-star review. And the only reason why it didn't get sent to the finals was because it wasn't yet in print. So we're going to try it again for next year's. So believe it or not, it's damn good.
I already feel the vibration. Everything that you just said in that short synopsis of the book, it's resonating. It's resonating. We will make sure to add the link of your book and your contact where the
Thank you.
viewers can
Thank you.
find you in the description down below.
Yes.
Yep.
It's easiest if you just go to myname.com. It's m.banks.bey.com.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's easy too.
Right.
Because your name is on the video, so they can always just,
Perfect.
yep. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Banks.
Thank you.
I will go on to Sabine. Sabine, if you're there, holler at us. Let us know. You could tell the viewers again about yourself because this is your second panel. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Basically, the reason for me being here, it is a subject, like I mentioned before, that is of matter to me. It's of matter to me because I believe that women should feel safe in whatever relationship they are in. And also that we can bring awareness as a collective to finding ways to eliminate violence against women. So as a representative of women issues in my work environment, I thought it was good to join again the conversation. So that is the reason for me joining in to get tonight again.
Thank you,
Thank
Sabine.
you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And I remember in the last video you mentioned that it was the Polytechnique situation that also kind of sparked.
Yes. Back in 1989, in the city of Montreal, which is the city I was born and where I live, there was a shooting at the University of Montreal in which 14 women were killed by a gunman because they were women. That was the reason why he did what he did. And since that moment on, every year on the 6th of December, we remember what happened to these women and we bring awareness in different settings. There's a lot of things that goes on, a lot of different activities that go on in the community level and also public level of our city to remind people of what happened and trying to find ways to counteract, if I can say that, or bring awareness to the issue that is still very present. And also this year, if I'm not mistaken, since the beginning of 2021 within the province, I believe there was 17 women who were killed by either their spouse or either husband or boyfriend, and left so many, more than 40 children without parents, without a mother, because they were victims of domestic violence, which is a big thing because almost every other weeks for some part of the year we were hearing about it, and those are collateral damages, I can say, in regards to the pandemic right now, because a lot of those women who had a safe space in their work environment or right now at home with I guess the person I'm trying to find my words here, the perpetrator, if it's the right word to use. So yes, it's just to find tools to make sure that these women are well equipped within their work environment.
That is so awesome. And I appreciate, you sharing that background with the Polytechnique. Is that the name of the school? I can't remember. I think it is the name of the school, right? Where the shooting happened?
Yes, it's the University of Montreal, and Polytechnique is the engineering department. It still carries that name, Polytechnique. It's the part of the engineering department of the University of Montreal.
Okay, because I do recall that happening, and I also want to bring up the story before I go on to Elijah. I wanted to quickly bring up the attention that you brought to me in regards to Cheryl Pringle. I think it was yesterday, and who was found dead And the update was that her partner, well, I believe they said it was her partner or someone she was dating, was arrested in regards to um, was allegedly or arrested in or in association or in connection to her passing because apparently she was the he was the last person she was with on the 18th of December, I believe it was.
Yes. Actually, I saw the posting from one of my cousins who lives in Massachusetts. She had shared a missing person on her wall, and I saw it on, I believe, on Sunday or Monday. And then yesterday, I saw the rest in peace, which was shocking. And when I went to read the story, like sideways a little bit, because I was working at the time, it said something about her going on a date. She had mentioned to her mother, I believe, that she was going on the date. And then the next day, no one could reach her, and they did on their own a search by contacting their people and putting the information out there. And then yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, that's when they found her, or was it on Tuesday night? But I believe that by doing that, letting people know that she's missing, I think that was able to accelerate the finding, even though unfortunately she didn't find her alive, but it accelerated the process. So yesterday when I put my message, it was more to bring awareness to people. You go on a date, let your people know that you're dating or that you're going on a date, to make sure that somebody knows that you're out there, and if something happens, you go missing, then at least they can put track of searching for you.
I agree. I agree. Thank you so much, Sabine. And Nancee just came into the room. Hello, Nancee. We'll come to you in a second. I'm just gonna have Elijah introduce himself. But thank you so much, Sabine, in regards to your background and what you're going to be bringing to the table in the conversation. And we'll definitely go deeper into the Cheryl Pringle story because I love to draw from some of the information that you brought in the last conversation, as you know, into this discussion, because I have a feeling it will come up, and I'm sure it will, and I hope it will. um Elijah, I will go to you, sir.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Elijah. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Now I reside in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am a project coordinator for Temple University. I work also on the side as a salesperson, IBO for Amway Corporation, and do music on the side. And the reason why I joined the group is because I've seen domestic violence so much growing up in my life and continuing to see it, and as well was in a relationship with domestic violence. And just find that it is always swept under the rug or not spoken out against. And a lot of times these incidents happen and there's no resolution to it. Prime example, here in Philadelphia, we have a lot of domestic violence that occur and leads to death. Recently, we had a young lady who was killed and shot while she came from her baby shower, and she was pregnant. And come to find out, instantly, it was the boyfriend who did it. So seeing that happen so much, I felt like I definitely had something that I can contribute to the group, rather it be through my own personal experience or experience that I've seen of other people. So I'm happy to be here and to share.
Thank you, Elijah. Thank you so much. And I'm happy that you're here. And again, to everyone who just joined the room, Nancee, Jessica, hello, beautiful ladies. I just want to introduce you, Nancee and Jessica, to Dr. Marcus Banks Bay. And I'm not too sure, Jessica, if you had met my cousin Sabine. She's also in the chat. She was actually in the first chat with us. Well, oh, actually, you were in the first chat with her. Yes, you were. And Nancee, I think you were in the first chat as well with Sabine, but you weren't in the chat with Elijah. So Elijah is somebody else new as well. He's also in the WhatsApp group. But thank you, Elijah, for sharing. And again, I'm going to be adding, or either myself or my sisters will be adding everyone's links in the description so that the viewers will be able to follow everybody on the panel and just follow up with them and message them on their different platforms where they can get additional information from everybody involved, because everybody will be bringing a different perspective to the discussion. So yes, thank you, Elijah. Nancee, you can go ahead. It's your turn, madame.
All right, greetings, everyone. I'm like on the side of I-95 right now, last minute trip with my mom and them, so connectivity is kind of off right now. But hi, everyone. I'm thankful to have been able to join you guys. I'm Nancee, originally from Miami, Florida, currently residing in Georgia. I am a mom of 3, and I also care for my mom. I have history with domestic abuse in general, and I'm on this platform to learn more about it, to figure out how we can address it, especially on an individual base, so we won't still remain victims to it, and as well as make sure our future generation don't fall victim to it as well. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Nancee. And you know what? I'm so glad that you were able to join us, because there was great information you started to add. You, like, everything you said in the last platform was great. Coming on to the end of the discussion, it cut out and we weren't able to continue on from where you left off. But I'm absolutely looking forward to hearing more of what you bring to the table, because you have so much knowledge and we have so much that we can learn from you. Jessica was just in the room. She's not with us yet. But once she comes in, then I'll definitely have her introduce herself to everybody and, share her perspective as well. So my name is Louisette. I go by the name of Louisette_St for it online on Instagram. I am a musician. I'm a student in psychology and public policy. I'm also a fitness instructor for about 11 years now. And again, I'm the sister of the Lewis girls. My sisters and I, we have a background in schizophrenia, where we were the caregiver to our mother who suffers from schizophrenia. We did not encounter domestic violence in that sense, but our background, we are of Caribbean descent. And in the household, we did get beats. I don't know if that's in every Black home, but I think it's in the majority. But, it wasn't anything to the degree that we, would pick up the phone and have to call the cops. But, we got what we needed to get. However, with starting this discussion, it was in the midst of seeing the amount of, predominantly from what was popping out to me, young Black women losing their lives to domestic violence at the hands of young Black men or other Black men, regardless of the age of women and men. I recognize within myself that it's such a taboo topic, because what happens is when you're bringing up a gender-based type violence situation, especially within the Black community, it kind of makes certain people, especially Black men, look like they're these aggressors. And that's one of the biggest stereotypes that we're trying to get over. But it's also an issue that we have to talk about in the community, especially for the fact that it occurred in our family, from what I've learned from my mom, where a lot of our aunts and cousins and grandmother, I believe my grandmother as well, was involved in domestic violence. And it was something that was very predominant in every generation, but it's just, wasn't something that's spoken about often. And a lot of times we thought that those things weren't happening in those generations. We knew it was, but it was kind of like, is it happening? But when I shared a video with my mom that I had on Instagram, where it showed, I believe his name is Zach Stacy, a Black football player who is abusing his white girlfriend or baby mother, and then also showed another young black girl who was getting abused by her boyfriend. It sparked a conversation with me and my mother, and she said, listen, this is something that happens in a lot of homes, and a lot of people aren't talking about it. And just like what Dr. Banks said, and just like what Elijah will be talking about as well, is that it's not only happening where the woman is being abused, but there are women who are abusing men. There are men who are in same-sex relationships as well that are abusing their partners, and as well women being in same-sex relationships as well that are abusing each other. And it's such a, I don't want to say convoluted situation, but it's not something we talk about enough in the community. And as of recently, as Sabine and I just brought up, was the issue with Cheryl Pringle, who lost her life this past weekend. And so again, the whole point of us coming to the table is really discussing this and finding solutions through each other and through the guidance of Dr. Banks, who has written this book that I would love for us to keep, if he can continue to pull or start to pull or will pull from the book, so that we can put it towards each situation. So I wanted to start the floor off with Nancee. Nancee, the reason why I want to start with Nancee is because in the last discussion that we had, Nancee was the last person to speak, and I would love for her to start her story off. And Dr. Banks, you can always jump in. I might just, anything that comes to your mind, you can always just, anybody, just feel comfortable. And we also have the raise hand. I would love for us to use a raise hand, and I'll make sure that I'm moderating and everybody gets their opportunity to share. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Banks. I see your hand up.
Yes, I'm going to observe the rules here so that I don't interrupt. And I like this piece of equity and inclusion. Let me say that this conversation is so necessary, and it's been necessary for quite some time because of the recognition of my many biases, across the spectrum. And I can't enter this conversation without a reflection of self. And in that respect, I don't think that any of us can come into this conversation in believing that we are exempt, if you will, of exclusion. All right. So with that in mind, when I had been hired as the domestic violence program manager, outreach coordinator, and all of these things, I had yet been trained and undergone my certificate process or certification process. And so there is this host of information that, in all honesty, if we have not undergone the certification process or training, we're really lacking with respect to knowledge base and understanding and statistical data. And I just want to bring this into the conversation because the reality is that we're going to be biased. Our information is going to be skewed by our experiences. That can't be helped, right? Our perception is going to be swayed by media programming, as well as what our beliefs have come to be with regard to our, should I say, development, environment, all of this stuff, right? For those who are familiar with the psychological arena. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation, right? So that we can kind of bring our expectations down and not have too many jerk reactions when we hear something that's going to trigger us in this very sensitive space.
I absolutely 100% appreciate that. Big time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that was needed.
Okay, so I just wanted to make mention of that. I know there was a little wordy, but if someone else had something, I can go on because there was really something in my book here that I wanted to make mention of with respect to what that 9/10 of the law is. And if we're familiar, what did they write into that when they were drafting the Constitution, right? They said possession, huh? Possession is 9/10 of the law. I might be wrong, right? You know, I'm not a legislator. But this idea of attachment, right? In the psychological arena, another way of saying attachment is possessions. There are those things that we, especially as Westerners, are inundated with and encouraged to identify ourselves with, and the mutually acquired things. There is a great illusion that we have ownership, control, and power over our possessions, to include our children even, right? And it was written into laws before we were even considered human beings, right? That possessions were human, our human counterparts, right? So let's come from that framework even with regards to this conversation, because this extends far beyond us as a people and how we were incorporated into this Western tradition, right? So I want to establish that framework as well, because there was a point in time where matriarchal and patriarchal traditions were not separated, right? So in this space, as peoples of African descent, right, we are now swaying back and forth, and we're in competition with one another, right? And there are these cycles of dramas and traumas and things of that sort, right? And that we are acting upon subconsciously. So I want to bring that into the conversation at this point, if it sparks something for anyone, with this idea that we own one another, even as it stems from when we look at the reflection of who we are in our younger selves, who are our children, right? Because when we snatch them up, right, who are we acting like? So maybe something there has to change first.
I feel that 100%, and it connects very much with this narrative that I've been hearing recently in regards to Black women not being submissive. Or there's been like this huge narrative on social media where Black women are not submissive, you know, they're very dominant. But instead of me jumping in, Nancee, I would love to hear your perspective on what was said or anything that you want to add to that.
I'll try to make it quick because the reception is bad in my area. But I was saying that Mark hit exactly what I was trying to state last time. I believe that we all have to find our way back to ourselves. And what has worked for me, I'm not going to say everyone, what has worked for me, I have reached out to my ancestors. What does that mean? I started meditating. I started doing some yoga. I started to doing things that would relax myself, because when we grew up in the United States, we are not taught to sit down and be still. When you start going to daycare and elementary school, and when HRS came and snatched me out our home and we started school at 6 years old, we started to learn to love everything outside of ourselves. So when I started to learn about my ancestors and I started to pray and whatnot, one thing that I am now realizing is that I have to be more aware. And like Mark was saying, we are so possessive as far as emotions. I'm driving in a car, my mom said something, I'm holding on to that anger emotion as if it's oxygen. Why am I holding on to it? How is it serving me? How is it? We have to go back to our ancestors, and they will show us how to connect the dots, because we have never been taught to connect the dots from 5 years old to 10 years old to 15 years old, 20. We have missed so many steps, and and is that me? I'm sorry, my music started playing, y'all. I apologize.
It's okay. We can't hear the music. We can hear you though.
Okay, but it seems like growing up in the United States, we have missed so much. So I feel like if we could find a way to connect back to our ancestors, they will guide us as far as when anything comes in front of you. Like I was in an accident last month, hit. I mean, I was hit horribly. The whole side of my car was damaged. I was in the hospital. And not only that, a couple of weeks after that, I was assaulted. So much is going on. And if we are not connected, go ahead.
I was just saying, sorry to hear about that. That doesn't sound like it was.
Oh, no. Thank you. Thank you. But the reason why I'm saying all this is like so much happens to us. And we are so, if you get an accident, we're going to run to the doctor. We're going to run to the ER. We're going to get, we're going to try to deal with the ticket. We don't know how to stop and look into ourselves to find the answers that we already have. We have them. We just have to learn how to connect what we have, all the senses that we have. We don't know how to speak to our ancestors. We don't know how to listen out to clues. Before I got in my accident, I had dreams. Something said, Nancee, sit down. You don't have to go to the pharmacy tonight to get the medication for your mom. It'll be there tomorrow. But me being, I'm gonna knock out as much as I can before the day ends, and I'm on a roll. I hop out there, and what happens? This car runs into me and knocks the speeding Gonzalez out of me. That could have been prevented. But like I said, I feel like if we get back to our ancestors, we will learn how to connect the dots. And then we will learn how to look within ourselves for a lot of issues that we are dealing with, like the domestic violence. If you're in a relationship with a person, before that person starts to abuse you, there are signs. And if we know how to look within ourselves, we know how to read the signs, we know how to, evaluate everything around us, we will know that, okay, this person is not for me. Oh, I need to check myself. We would figure out how to get out of these situations before they become a situation. And that's it.
Now, Nancee, you had experience. I know that Marcus actually has something to say. Actually, go ahead, Marcus, and then I'll ask Nancee.
No, let's go ahead and finish with Nancee's thought. I think that's important to kind of close out what you have to say, and then because I'm writing things down.
Okay. Well, I wanted to quickly ask Nancee in regards to those triggers, right? Because it sounds like you're speaking of controlling those triggers and your reactions to triggers. How long did it take for you to experience the domestic violence that you went through to start really looking inside and realizing that instead of responding to your triggers in an aggressive way, because that's what your abuser had done to you, how long did it take for you to start recognizing that so that you didn't project that onto other people?
I started to, let me see. Well, when I was in those situations, never, ever. It wasn't until this year, I feel like I was placed, if you will. I reached out to some of my my elders in IET and Saint Domain, and I started to connect, my background and my ancestors. And then I started to pray. I started to change my lifestyle, if you will. I didn't just go vegan, and no, I did more than that. And then I would say it took about, this is what, in December, a whole year, an entire year. That's how long it took.
So you were just recently coming out of this relationship.
Yes. My last abusive, I got out of my marriage in 2017. And after I got that relationship, I tried to date, but triggers. I realized that I was always reactive and whatnot. Well, I didn't realize it. I just knew something was wrong and something was off balance. I didn't know what it was. But it wasn't until I was placed, my grand aunts and my grandparents and whatnot. It wasn't until I wouldn't say they prayed over me, but everybody got together and okay, we need to place this child. And when I was placed and I started to learn to pray, I started to learn to breathe. I started to learn the basics, if you will. That's when I started to realize that I was reacting towards everything. And that was like I said, it took about a year, and that was this year.
Okay. Marcus, you can go ahead because I'm interested in knowing what you have to provide.
Oh, absolutely. Nancee brings up so much with respect to signs of a person who is seeking to be in power and control, right? We're not going to show all of our flaws. We're going to do our best. But an individual who is just, regardless of gender, someone who is attempting to come into your life too quickly, right? Attach themselves too fast. Someone who is, in a sense, attempting to meet your family, move in quickly, pressing to be in your space. We have to be able to recognize these triggers. I found myself in a violent, if you will, or controlling marriage that I had to find myself out of, right? And why? Because of the dynamic and relationship that I had with my mother, right? So there's an aspect of this. 3/4 of intimate partner domestic violence situations are male on female, okay, gender type. Then there's that 1/4 that goes unspoken. And the reason why it goes unspoken is because of the shame and also the lack of believability and also the blame that inherently is absorbed by men when they are, if you will, assaulted or abused or blamed by their female counterparts, right? So that's statistically. And then you will also find that other types of control mechanisms are found within the system, whether it be the child support system, the criminal justice system, the school to prison pipeline, that doesn't necessarily deal with violence, if you will, but control mechanisms. So again, we have to understand the spectrum of power, control, intimate partner violence, right? I read an article as I was a program manager and counselor that in Central California, a police officer was recently killed by his ex-partner because she didn't want him to be with anyone else. He left her, right? And she killed him with his own gun, all right? Now, there was an investigation because many people will say, well, he must have done something, right? Well, the signs and the red flags were there. She rushed into the relationship. She wanted to have him in her life. He was raised in a very alcoholic and violent household. And his sister, as a matter of fact, was a victim of domestic and intimate partner violence. So again, what we look at is the information and the data rather than our own biases, if that makes any sense.
Well,
It does.
did you want to continue, Nancee?
No, I was just agreeing with him. I agree with everything he said.
Right. It's funny because Nancee had brought up in one of the other discussions the intergenerational patterns of abuse, and so did Elijah. And this is going back to like a triangular situation here where you're bringing in, Marcus, you're bringing in that intergenerational connection where if it's not moving from parent to child, is moving probably from parent to child to sibling. Like it's very sometimes it's skipping a generation. Elijah, you had a similar story with your experience.
Yeah, and it's something that Marcus hit on, the signs. And I think, for me, personally, I didn't recognize the signs, and I didn't grow up with abuse around me. Like I've seen abuse in like a cousin or neighbors and things like that in the household, but I grew up in a very strict religious household. So I was kind of, how would you say, protected from all these different things. So I didn't have exposure to life, as to say, I would say, until I went to college. So when I got into my really first, real relationship, I didn't know those signs. And I think that is also a part of it, being exposed or having that experience, life experiences. And for me, in that relationship with the abuse, like he said, it moved so fast. Like, it just hit me. Like, it moved so fast. He wanted to be in my life. He wanted to meet my sister. He wanted to do all these different things. And to me, that wasn't, a bad thing. It was like, oh, this person is really into me. And then it seemed like, they was doing all these good things. And then all of a sudden it was like, bam, then the violence start. So that's something that I definitely feel like some people, not everybody has been in a bad experience. It's just that they haven't had enough experience. And for me, what I did, I did have friends who saw things, who came in and was like, okay, what is going on? You're not being yourself. You're not your normal happy self. Your energy has changed. And that is what triggered me to see, okay, this is not a good situation. But there, once again, there's that shame. Even though I'm in a same partner sex relationship, there is that shame because I'm still a man. And I'm like, okay, I don't want my people knowing that I'm in a relationship and we're fighting and all this craziness going on. So I kind of hid that from my friends and my family. But one of my friends, one thing, like the sister said, in reference to your spirituality and all those different things, my friends and I, we have this spiritual connection, and they sense things. I sense things from them, and they picked up on it without me even telling them, and showed up in Philadelphia. It's like, it was like, that man, what's going on? This is not going to happen. So, I appreciate hearing that. And I think that is definitely, from my point of view, like, not having enough experience in life to pick up on the signs and the triggers that led to the domestic violence.
Right.
Thank you, Elijah.
And oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Go ahead. And I think my sister has her hand up. Go ahead. It's okay, Marcus.
Oh, okay. It's just it's a conversation that and a topic that I've become very passionate about, because my sister was in a relationship, and thus my niece, her father was my we were good friends, and the feeling of betrayal and all types of stuff, make a brother want to go grab a gat still. How do we reconcile with these feelings? How do we come to understand ourselves, like I said, along this spectrum, if you will, with respect to me being, if you will, a ordained masters of divinity. I've gone through all types of traditions and things of that sort. The point is that we're still, should I say, bound to the flesh. And I use that term, loosely, but I think everybody kind of understands what I'm saying. We still are going to have, as Elijah put, these experiences. We're going to experience the guilt, the shame, the blame, the what ifs or what could haves, right? But how do we then reconcile and say, this took place? How do I move forward and use this to the benefit of myself and then those around me?
Yes. Elijah, did you want to add anything to that before my sisters ask a question? I think they have a question for you.
Only thing, like the sister said, one thing just to add, when she said, we need to go back to our roots and things of that nature. I think that's a big thing. Rather whatever its spirituality is going to be for you, I think part of that comes with being taught. Here, actually, for me as a Black American, and also Chopra Native American, I didn't know my heritage. I didn't know, that connection. I knew there was a gift there until somebody I met a total stranger, said, oh, you need to stop being afraid of your gifts and you need to tap into it. That opened the door, but I still needed a teacher. And I think that's something that we all need, you know, that may have gifts or may need that spiritual guidance. We need to have a mentor. We need to have somebody to teach us. You can't just give a person a book and say, read it if they never knew how to read. So I think that's a big, important part when we need to connect back to that spirituality or learn the spirituality, learn who we are. If you don't know or you don't have anyone to teach you, sometimes not everybody has the talent to teach themselves.
I absolutely agree, and I love the fact that you brought in the various tribes that you stem from. You know, because even looking back at when you read about the tribes that we come from, you know, like in St. Vincent, where my mom is from, it's the Garifuna, and then you have the Caribs, and then you have in Haiti, you know, where my dad is from, you have the Taino, and you have the different tribes. But then you also look at the continent of Africa and what they brought to, you know, the Americas, you know, before the transatlantic slave trade, and how important it is for us to reassociate ourselves back to those tribes, because they had ways of interventions and intervening into issues like this, especially when it comes to the different kinds of violence and the degeneracies that were happening in the community. Althea or Renelle, I'm not too sure which one it is that you guys have your hand up, but you can go ahead.
No, I just had a question for like Elijah, Nancee, everybody on the panel. I just wanted to know, like, do you think that domestic violence is maybe something that parents should have a talk to their children about? Because I know, like Elijah said, that he grew up in a sheltered, like, kind of household. And I remember Nancee mentioning, I think it was the first panel, she mentioned that she spoke to her daughter like a little bit about it, or so, like about I think it was like emotional abuse or something, or verbal abuse or something like that. So I just want to know if you guys think parents should bring up the topic to their children.
Yes, they should.
Oh yeah, I it's okay if I chime in first.
Sure.
Yes, I totally think if, like I said, my parents were super religious. We grew up in probably one of the strictest religions I've ever known. We didn't talk about sex. We didn't talk about, you know, anything of that nature. And I felt like I was not prepared for life. I was prepared for school and education, but I was not prepared for life when I went to college, because I lost my parents at a young age in college. So I was on my own. So learning life and maneuvering this new world and not being kept under the religion, I was just like a deer in headlights, learning different things and by trial and error. So if my parents would have talked to me about those different things and saying, okay, this is how you should be in a relationship, not knowing that I was going to be in a gay or male relationship, but relationship in general, because that's across the board. It doesn't matter what type of relationship you're in, but teach you about sexuality, teach you about how to be treated and how to treat people in a relationship. That would have helped me so much. What to be prepared for. Like, a lot of things I was prepared for, but there was a lot I was not.
And I my condolences. I didn't know that you lost your parents when you were young. In you said in college.
Yes, thank you.
You're so strong. Marcus, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. Let me take it down. And I'm going to add to what Elijah was saying and what everyone else is saying. I believe that it is the duty of the parent to be the original teacher and instructor of the children, right? Too often we are made to feel as though that instruction should not take place in the home, because, like, well, they're going to get it in school. Well, the reality is I work in a school. And we all have been in the school. It was like, excuse my English, man, they don't teach shit in school, if you will, right? They teach enough to get us to the next grade, if that, right? Enough to get you a below minimum wage job so that you can one day survive, if you're lucky. Because if you look at the world around us, everyone is struggling to survive. And that has been the reality for the past 4,000 years. Okay, so let me just bring us to that awareness. Secondly, as parents, we have to be real with ourselves. How do you teach a child to not accept violent, hands-on, abusive, emotionally wounding behavior if you are the original wounder, right? If you're not setting that example yourself? Who needs to change is the question. And then we send the child into the world to, should I say, expect the worst because they have grown up in an environment that has been, should I say, lackluster or poor or exempt of the care and the support that they've been in need of.
Funny because Marcus, you mentioned something about the parents being that the perpetrator or the founder of certain abuses that the child experiences, and then the child is basically that jar that's going out there in the world and pouring it out, or probably not pouring but receiving the same abuse.
That kind of the expectation,
right?
Do we not?
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So we're giving them, we're saying, hey, this is love, right? So when I hit you, or when I push you away, right? Because there are ways that we express love, and there are ways that we emotionally distance ourselves, right? There's all types of stuff, right? And then let's be fair with one another, right? Because nobody's perfect. There's some things that I do where I'm just like, man, I hope that didn't scar my child, but it can't be helped. There are some games for my son that I can't make, okay? I was deployed for a while. My daughter said that she was having some depression and like suicidal thoughts, and oh my God, the tears rolled down, right? Having the conversation and the understanding is the first step. These are the sacrifices that we make, but they wouldn't understand it if we weren't to come to them and just give them that explanation. So when I have these very, should I say, coming to the Messiah moments, sometimes we're a little taken back by Jesus. Oh my God. Anyways, then we have to, I had these conversations with my father, and I'm like, man, Dad, shit. I just found out that y'all didn't know what the hell y'all was doing in the 30s. That's why the house looked like this.
That's true. But you know what? But the thing is, everything you're saying in terms of how the parents show up, it connects to something Jessica had brought up, because Jessica, right after Nancee gives her input, I'm gonna have you introduce yourself and reconnect that back to what Marcus was saying. Jessica, can you hear me? Are you able to respond, or you want to try your mic? Because I remember you had mentioned in one of the last.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Because what you're about to say, it connects very much to what Marcus brought up in terms of the parent's role and how this child is molded and responds and reacts or perpetuates the abusive cycle. Because I remember you said that you experienced it with your mom. I think your parents. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but Nancee, you can go ahead, and Jessica, you can jump in. Okay, cool.
I'm sorry. This is my response.
Well, I was gonna have Nancee go real quick. I saw her hand up. I'm not too sure if she. Are you able to respond, Nancee, real quick, and then Jessica, you can jump.
Jessica hasn't had a say since we've been on. I'll go after her.
No, you know what? Honestly, you guys are really killing it. You guys are rocking it out, touching every base of topic when it comes to like domestic violence. I like the fact that earlier, recognizing yourself spiritually, subconsciously, and all that stuff, so that way you can analyze yourself better. It has to do with patterns. Like Nancee said, when she tried to like move on, um, you know, dating, she realized that it just wasn't working out because it all starts within yourself. Like, you know, if you want changes and you want different, you gotta, you know, it has to go, it has to come from within. You know, you gotta stop the pattern somehow, but you gotta recognize it within yourself. I also like the topic when we mentioned about parents, on how the parents have to, you know, really talk about domestic violence in both genders, because like you stated earlier, yes, my mom was a narcissist, and my mom was the one that, you know, played a lot of role as far as mental and emotional abuse and also physical. But she was the abuser and my father was the victim. She was abusing him, you know, in domestic violence, hitting him, you know, physically, emotionally, and mentally. That even though I have boys, I have 4 boys, I still talk to them about domestic violence, because not only because of the fact that they witnessed what they seen with their father, what they did to me, but also because I'm aware that there's narcissist females out there and there's domestic violence in men as well. It's just that it's not being talked and it's not being offensive because of the gender, you know. But as far as everything else, I agree. And it touches everything that we need to touch and talk about when it comes to domestic violence. And it's pretty much all I can say. You know, we really have to like analyze a lot within ourselves. And it's like, you know, what like was once mentioned, you know, we have to be real within ourselves. We can't be, you know, expecting, you know, different results if we're doing the same thing. It has to stop somehow. And I appreciate this talk and I appreciate this platform. And I appreciate the fact that all you guys are really touching everything, because it's also helping me, you know. I'm also in the process of learning as well. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I'm really happy that you're a part of the discussion, because you had your own experience with with domestic abuse. And before I ask my question, I'll let the Lewis girls ask their question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question is for Jessica. I just wanted to know, because you just mentioned that your mom was abusing your father. So I wanted to know, like, how was it for you growing up seeing that kind of behavior coming from your mom? How was it? Did it affect you? Did it affect how did it affect your dad as well, getting abused from your mom? So that's my question.
No, in fact, I thank you for asking me that, because, you know, I did touch that topic at one point. It did affect me. I'm not going to lie. A child will only learn, the child only learns what they see in their parents. And if it wasn't, it's sad to say this, but it's the reality, it's the truth. If it wasn't for the simple fact that I experienced domestic violence, because of that helped me change my mother's pattern, because I was sort of inheriting her behavior, because that's all I knew. That's all I seen. And I thought it was acceptable. So when I had a boyfriend, you know, I would play fight with him or hit him or abuse him emotionally, mentally, but it was only because I didn't know what I was doing. It was just something that I seen with my mother and her mother. Basically, majority of the females in my mother's side of the family are all narcissists. So it's all I was raised and all I seen. And what helped me realize the pattern was, in fact, me being in it. You know, that saying when you can't really speak on something unless you experience. It's like in my experience, what was that it helped me change not to inherit her behavior by being involved in domestic violence, to understand how my father felt. You know, my father right now, in fact, he's been separated from my mother for over like 30 years. And emotionally and mentally, he is still affected by her abusiveness, because she, you know, she, how do I say this? She didn't want him to see me and my sister She took us from him. We haven't seen him in 22 years, and we finally reunited 8 years ago for the first time in 22 years. And he's just really traumatized. He went through so much emotionally because of the abuse that he inherited with my mother for 8 years.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. That was my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, Jessica, I have a quick question. I see Nancee, your hand is up. Did you want to chime in, Nancee? And then I'm gonna go to Sabine real quick.
I think my hand was still up from earlier. I could just chime in now from the questions that was asked previously.
Sure.
We can still wait.
Sure.
3 things, and I'll let y'all move on. But some parents don't know to teach their child about domestic abuse or even the knowledge of themselves. As I mentioned, my mom, she left the Caribbean when she was 14, and then she started having children right after she came to the States. So she was a child herself. And so she didn't know how to be a child, a teenager, let alone a parent. And generational. When I became a parent at 20, by the time my children got like 10, 15, I was just learning to be a young adult. And then here I am, have to teach them how to be children and whatnot. I didn't know how to do that because, again, I wasn't taught that. So some of the parents don't know how to teach their children how to love themselves first because they didn't know how to do it, and let alone know how to, teach it to them. So that was the other things. I know Marcus mentioned that families meet for weddings and funerals. When I turned 18, I ran into the Army because the household was, if I was getting my behind beat, I was getting cussed out. If I wasn't getting cussed, it was horrible. So I ran. I'm realizing that a lot of things that I learned in life, the way I reacted when I learned them from her. So when my mom says something, I don't react. I stop, I listen, and I realize, Nancee, if you don't fix this now with her, it's gonna keep repeating. Mm-hmm. So I'm in a hard place right now because it's like, okay, you got to get it right now because I'm sorry about the background, y'all. I know it's a lot of vehicles going back. I don't know. You're good. We can hardly hear, or at least I can. Okay, so I just wanted to say that some parents don't know how to teach because they didn't know themselves, and if you run away from it, you're doing yourself a disadvantage. If it misses you, it's gonna catch your children. If it misses, it's going to catch somewhere. So why not be the one that fixes the trauma and fix the issue? It's making me a better mother, and it's teaching me to communicate with my children so that we will fix some of the issues that weren't addressed when I was a child.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That's it.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Marcus, you can go ahead, Marcus, and then I'll have Sabine chime in.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? This takes me back to my book in chapter 4. Chapter 4 is conflict, the cycles of traumas and drama. And I wanted to share a piece here that the reality is that just what Nancee was saying is we hardly are prepared for conflict, right? But the reality is that we are faced with external and internal conflict daily. And this idea that we are going to have these perfect, days that should go the way that we plan, the way that we foresee them, right? We should be grateful that we wake up being able to enjoy a meal, get to whatever our destination is unscathed, right? Because the world can be a very, should I say, disorganized place, especially when you are counting on other people that you don't know to do the right thing, right? So what I have here is that the expectation of conflict and confrontation in our lives provides us with an opportunity not to engage in the mental act of anxious hypervigilance, but rather the mental, emotional, and physical preparedness of life's unexpected occurrences. Daily, Many tread about with presumptions and assumptions, most of which being that the moments ahead will proceed in manners that will meet our mental expectations. And when those expectations are not met, we react negatively, like an emotional child who does not get what he or she wants. Why is this? Here is when we become aware of our own neurosis and self-absorbed mental states. A point when we realize that we are operating in a very fictitious, self-contained, and subjective false reality. The world, galaxy, the universe, creation, and existence far exceed anything and everything we believe we could have any level of control over. Therefore, we should expect that not only will things not go as we plan, but when they do, we should be in a constant state of gratitude, remain calm and peaceful, and most sincerely be grateful when there is tranquility in our lives. That's called the art of peace.
Wow. You know, I really respect that piece. And then Sabine, I'll have you chime in. That part right there, Marcus, is very powerful because it goes back to something that Sabine has said in the last discussion we had in regards to play fighting. And that goes connected to what Jessica had said, where I think she had said she saw play fighting going on in some of these domestic abuse relationships. And going back to what you're saying is that there is that rigidity, that inability to be flexible, to realize that what we perceive or what we want things to be in real life, that what we see in our mind doesn't always come to fruition. It doesn't actually happen. And then when it doesn't happen the way we want it to be, we start to lash out in different ways. We start to act childlike, going back to that play fighting thing. You know, it leads a lot of these traumas and the root to abuse, and a lot of the abuse that we see happening, it's very, very connected to a childlike state where you have adults behaving like children rather
because
than...
we're looking to regain a sense of control. And the reality is we don't have control over anything but ourselves. And we hardly do a good job of that.
Right. And then you have these adults who have not repaired that childlike state. And they start perpetuating certain behaviors in adulthood, which could then lead to certain abusive behaviors. So it's just like a step by step. It doesn't always move in that same direction, but you just have so many different routes that can lead us back to that issue of abuse that we choose not to address. And it's like a knot in our existence, in our creation, that we haven't learned to untie. And we just keep creating these knots through our lives and then into our children's lives, and then our children creates another knot in their partner's lives, and these knots just keep coming up, but we're not addressing the knots that happened before, like this tangled web situation.
Right. It's about that awareness, right? So that means we have to grow in some level of intellect, some type of collective consciousness, and that's why, again, the title of the book is the Psycho-Spiritual Handbook, right? Because in all ancient traditions, prior to the separation of spirituality and science, which you then called, religion, and then chemistry, biology, blah, 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 and everything else, right? All of this stuff was integrated. All of this stuff, there was an understanding, right? So this is where I've arrived at. I don't expect everybody to be here, but this is a good first step, right?
I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. Sabine, I would love to hear what you have to say on this.
Wow. So many things were said. Actually, I've been taking down some notes because it's a very interesting conversation. I read a few years ago, The Shadow Effects by Deepak Chopra. And for me, I believe I probably read this about 10 years ago. It was about to go back to parents and parents teaching their children. It was about forgiving, being able to forgive your parents, because our parents, they were brought up however way they were brought up, and they taught us however way they knew how to teach us. So when I read this book many years ago, I it was more like to learn to forgive certain parental behavior, certain reason why, let's say, my dad behave a certain way or my mom behave a certain way. And as we get older, instead of having a parent-child relationship, we're able to, for those who are fortunate to still have their parents, able to have a conversation adult to adult, and you can have a respectable or respectful conversation with them, in which certain things that you were taught maybe in the past that were not necessarily right, then you can deconstruct those behaviors in order for you, when you are in your relationship and when you are teaching the next generation, you can teach them to be more conscious of what they're doing and have a better communication as to how they're doing things. Another thing that was said about having that discussion with the children, like I had said in the last panel that we had, is the thing about the play fighting, that I was always taught you don't play fight, because play fighting, it's kind of bringing some sort of, it seems been it seems childlike and not something very serious, but when you get into those patterns, next thing you know, as an adult, if the person, it has a different meaning in their mind than just play fight, then it kind of, how can I say, it can transcend, I guess, into something that is more serious. Instead of become play fighting, it becomes a serious fighting, and it kind of it can be a danger, I would say, if I can use that word, in the behavior between male female or female female or male male. And what else did I wanted to say about that? That was pretty much the thing that I was taking more notes, because some of the things that were said, and something I wanted to say to Elijah, you had mentioned that, finding the right people to teach you what you need to be taught. I think, like, the fact that we were in a pandemic and we had to spend a lot more time away from all the noise of our day-to-day, is when you walk outside in silence. I know you live in Philadelphia, but there still has to be green spaces in Philadelphia. When you walk outside in silence, even without your phone, without anything, you can lose yourself in your thoughts. And there's certain things, if you're able to find your inner peace, you'll be able to find whatever is coming your way, like the route that you're supposed to follow. Even though you came from a very religious background, there's certain things that from that background that you can take and pursue with. And then there's new things that will reveal themselves to you.
Sabine, did you by any chance, because you worked with women, did you say that you work with abused women? You've worked with them before, right?
I work as, basically, I'm a representative of women conditions. So we meet different women in different type of settings. There are some they've confided that they were in abusive relationships. There are, like, I've done community work. It's mainly what I do is every year, either for December 6th or March 8th, we do activities, and not only those moments, but throughout the year, we do activities that reaches out to women within our community, and bring certain topics of awareness. In the past, we have increased our connection with the First Nation women of the community in which I live in, making links between different communities, either the how can I say? I'm looking for my words so I can translate them in English. Racialized women. Racialized women, because every women's situation, I am talking about women because I do women condition, every women's situation, depending on their background, is different, but at the same time, there's interconnection between them as well. Different issues, there's the cultural aspect of it, and we kind of try to bring awareness and understanding of, as humans, we are all interconnected, and that we can elevate one another by working together and not create division amongst one another.
I thank you so much, Sabine, for that. And we will be, ending this soon. But I absolutely appreciate, Sabine, you mentioning the interconnectedness of all of us in terms of our backgrounds and, nationalities and ethnic groups, because we're all coming from different places and we're coming in this portal and we're sharing stories to help other people. And for me, what I've taken from this is that there's a lot of inner healing that we have to do. And a lot of that inner healing comes from looking at the generation right before us, which is our parents. And it's really acknowledging how our parents played a role in certain situations that we may have gotten ourselves into, or situations that we were attracted to, or situations that were attracted to us, because we're electrical beings. We're electrical. We're a frequency. We're a vibration. We're an aura. We're a spirit. We're souls, and that's all energy. That's all science, right? And we tend to forget that. So that's something that I've taken away from the discussion. And before we wrap up the discussion, I want to go around the table and find out what you have taken from this discussion tonight. And once we've given all of the things that we've taken away, that can help somebody who's going to be listening to the panel once we post it up on YouTube. So I'll start with Elijah. What have you taken away from this discussion? And then we'll move to Jessica, Sabine, Nancee, and Lewis Girls, and Dr. Banks to round it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's so much, but one of the main things is just finding that inner peace with myself, which I have begun that path, and to see the signs and know what type of person is coming into your life. And I think that's so important. And just the last thing that you said in reference to the energy, and I can say just real quick, I've come to find that a lot of people are attracted to my energy. And I have to be careful of who is trying to attach themselves to me, because that can be draining, both spiritually and physically. But I just learned so much in this group, and I appreciate everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Elijah. Thank you so much. And I am attracted to you. I love your energy. I love your energy and your singing and your voice. It's beautiful. You guys got to check out his music. Mm-hmm. And Jessica, what do you feel you've pulled or taken away from everything that we discussed?
Well, to me, just like Liza said, as far as the energy, the attachment on others, that's something that it's a big plus for me that I really have to be observant about and very subconscious aware of it, because I'm always willing to help people, and I don't realize that, sometimes it's really drainful if you don't utilize it in the right way. Also, as far as, teaching your children, domestic violence and how to love themselves and their worth, no matter what gender. That's definitely something that I've thought of working on. I have, but I really want to work on it more, especially in this time around where things are like changing and people are you're seeing people for who they are. I don't know. I like to blame the pandemic for some reason. It has revealed a lot of things about people in generally. So I want to work on that more. And like Nancee, she spoke about her mother, as far as dealing with her for her sake, so that way it won't continue on generational wise. And that's something that I'm also working on with my mother as well. So I really appreciate you guys because you guys sincerely have touched every topic, in details. I appreciate Elijah. I appreciate Mark as well. I like the insight of, the book. There's a lot of things that you guys have spoken about that it's enlightening for me. It has enlightened me, and I'm definitely looking forward to learning more and also sharing more. And I appreciate you guys and really appreciate all this. And I'm so thankful and humble that I am a part of it. Definitely has given me a meaning to my purpose, especially with what I went through. And I love the fact that we touched the topic on, playing games, play fighting, because I've always felt like that was something that shouldn't happen and it shouldn't be comfortable for anybody to do, and it will lead to further situations. But as far as, like I mentioned earlier, touching every topic in detail and working within yourself and analyzing your energy, and everything is all within your, everything you need is within yourself. It just starts with self-love. You guys are really nailing it big time, and it's dope. I appreciate you guys.
And we appreciate you. We appreciate you, Jessica, honestly. And we do look forward to hearing more from you in regards to your experiences and future discussions.
Definitely.
Yeah. And Sabine, what was your takeaway from the discussion?
Well, I want to thank you for inviting me again and being part of this conversation. I'm grateful to be in this space right now and having this conversation. I believe that conversations are necessary. Talking about it is necessary. Bringing that energy out there is necessary. Being at peace also is necessary. I like when Marcus mentioned the competition of patriarchal versus matriarchal dynamics. I'd love to, in the future, talk more about that, because I think the way society is portraying it is kind of feel a little bit disruptive, because why can't we embrace matriarchal and patriarchal and find a way to intertwine it and make it better? I'm going to be more conscious of paying attention to the biases, and love the all of this, because it creates very interesting conversations with my husband. Once I'm done with that, every time I go back and I'm like, oh, well, we were talking about that. And it's also a way for us to talk about things that we wouldn't, or the old generation wouldn't have necessarily talked about. And that's important, as one day we would love to have children and have and build a family. So those are topics that are important. Thank you.
And thank you, Sabine. You touched on something really, really powerful that Marcus did bring up in terms of the patriarchal and the matriarchal connection, which used to be there at one point. And Marcus brought it up, Elijah brought it up, where although we live in a patriarchal society, when males experience abuse, which is not a huge percentage of them, but when they do experience it, they don't speak out about it because of how patriarchy presents the male image. The male image is perceived as dominant, as strong, not a pushover, an alpha, to the point where when males experience this type of abuse, even when they experience it as children, they grow up, they don't talk about it, and they internalize it, and it comes out in different ways. So you bringing that up, that's definitely, I'll put that down as a note, as something we can talk about as in our next discussion, as how these gender roles can, and in a patriarchal type of society, can also perpetuate the behavior that we see that comes out in the form of abuse, you know. Because my sister was showing me a video of a young woman who was abusing her boyfriend, and it was two separate, it's the same video, but it was cut in two parts. And it was just so sad, because in the comment section, everybody was telling her, they're just like, well, I don't know if she, obviously she didn't read all the comments because the video went viral, but the comment section was like, you know what, this is crazy, because if it was him abusing her, everybody would be going off, like, would be like, no, this is not right. But it's like, for her, when she was abusing him, punching him, it was like, you know, the response was different. It was very different. But I digress. Nancee, what was your takeaway from this discussion, if you're able to discuss?
Actually, yeah, I just pulled over. My mom had to go somewhere. I'm driving and I'm listening to everyone's take. Marcus, thank you so much. You have provided a wealth of information, as along with everybody else, Elijah, Jessica, Sabine. I'm glad I joined this panel, because as a disabled veteran, I have so many resources that can help me, and you know, to start my own as far as trying to reach out to others, and you know, give what I have learned and whatnot. So I'm glad that I'm part of this panel. I'm learning, and I'm realizing that I have a lot of tools that I can, you know, combine and put something out there to reach out to the others. So I just want to say thank you again for everyone for sharing what you've been through and for allowing me to do the same. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nancee. And it's the same with you too. We look forward to your insight and your wisdom, you know, within the discussion. Really do look forward to it. And then my sisters, Lewis girls, you can go ahead. You can add, you know, what your takeaway was from the discussion, and then we'll round it off and end off with Dr. Banks.
Okay, so this is Althea. I just want to say that this panel was amazing. I also want to say that I learned a lot during this panel. I mean, I've learned a lot during the other panels, but this panel was mostly like, I learned about parents, I guess, that it comes from the parents. Like, we see what our parents are doing, and we kind of learn from that, and we kind of go off of that. So it kind of taught me, like, when I become a parent, that I have to be more mindful about what I do in front of my kids. Like, especially if, you know, I want my kids to grow up, you know, the right way. I don't know, it taught me a lot. Like, I was just here listening. It's very interesting. It just, it's a lot. It's a lot of information. Also, just knowing that, you know, kids watch everything. They see everything, whether it's like domestic violence or alcoholism or, you know, just they see everything. So it's just for us to just be more mindful and more careful of what we do in front of our children. I don't know. That's what I got.
Yeah, and for me, Renelle, I play fight a lot with my brother, so I need to kind of quit that, because we were talking about that in this panel, like play fighting could lead to other things, but I need to stop that as well. I learned from this panel that domestic violence can happen in any relationship. It doesn't matter if it's the same sex relationship, or if it's like, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend relationship. And also, I feel I like from what Jessica said about her parents. I learned that it could be violence with the violence could be more on the girl than the male. So like how it could make the sometimes a lot in relationships, it could make men look bad, but sometimes it could also, the blame could also be on the woman. So, because the woman could be the abuser. So, I learned that as well. So, yeah. And also like what Althea said about you need to watch what you need to do around your children. It could lead to your children, um, want to do harmful stuff as well. So I learned a lot. Yeah.
Don't mind my sisters. This is a completely new sphere for them. I basically brought it to them. I'm like, guys, we have to talk about this. And they're just like, okay, Lou, you lead the way, because I'm usually the one that's always discussing the psychological stuff and the very dig deep type of topics. So, they're just like expressing themselves on the matter. It's new for them. Am I right, guys? Sisters, am I right on that?
Yes, it's like just we're trying to find the right words to use, kind of thing, because it's kind of hard. Like sometimes it's hard for us to express ourselves. But
and we never been through that kind of situation before, so it's kind of hard for us to explain it compared to people who've been through it. So yeah.
Yes, and I'm very thankful for them allowing me to be able to open this avenue on their platform. So I appreciate them, and I appreciate everybody that participated and felt comfortable and strong in sharing their perspective on the matter. And Marcus, I'd love to end off with you. I feel we have a lot to learn, and we learned a lot tonight, and I'm always looking forward to hearing more.
And I learned a lot from everyone. I call myself the patient observer. I used to be the one, because of my own insecurities, I would be the one in the crowd that everybody, I felt like they needed to see me and everything. Now I'm just kind of like the guy in the back, right? And Nancee, anytime you need to connect with me, please do so. I'm a retired Army captain. I had to navigate through all of that. I am also a disabled veteran. I'm at 90%. So however I can support you, you let me know, okay? And so with this, I want to express that I appreciate everybody's transparency. These topics obviously hit close to home because they've been in the home, right? And what I didn't even know is that, like, when I was younger, CPS showed up at the house. Of course, it's like some of this stuff you find out when you're an adult and whatnot. And you're just like, it wasn't, it was for my oldest sibling. He's 8 years older, but, the neighbors were calling on, him because my parents put him out because he was, selling crack and all this other stuff. And, it was 1988, so it was, anyways. Point that I'm making is that these are our realities, and this is where we are coming from. And I wanted to just end on, if you all could just entertain me for one moment, 2 paragraphs. With this information in mind, which is easier to accept? Awakening to a non-fictionalized reality that galactic universal elements eventually become humanity manifested in mental, physical, spiritual, and many multiple forms, all operating in unison as described by all ancient traditions, that kings, queens, billionaires, corporate oligarchs, and those who have attempted to rule by way of fear influence for the past 4,000 years are made up of the same life force materials as you with a different access to controlled information? Or there's absolutely nothing about any one individual on this planet that is special unless they have access to extreme sums of wealth or fictionalized superpowers told down through stories because a family member kept a tradition or simply didn't know any better. In summary, regarding faith, and simply put, a peaceful level of acceptance may be arrived at knowing that your body and your mind are the monastery and temple that so many have been questing to travel thousands of miles to study within and master. Many have simply been lacking the awareness, stillness of mind, curriculum, and sound discipline to engage in such self-study. So it is not that abandoning one's religious tradition is what is being encouraged, but rather one's belief in a religion founded upon any supremacist views, subjugation, invasion, and genocidal origin, perpetuation, or extremism is encouraged to be reflected upon. This is so that a person may be able to establish an awareness with the most positive aspects of the omniscient, omnipresent, creative source and unify it with a holistic and very real faith relationship with the mental, spiritual, and physical combinations of themselves for the sake of improving the next level of relationships they have with their individual and collective global family. Fair enough?
Absolutely.
Dope. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Yep.
That's what's
Appreciate
up.
that.
Yes.
All right.
And
So I just wanted to leave everybody with that.
you know what? I'm looking forward to
I
buying your
appreciate
book.
that. Seriously.
Yep. And I'm absolutely looking forward to getting my hands on the book, and I'm encouraging everybody to get their hands on it. So down the line,
I put it in the Goodreads link, the Amazon Kindle link in the chat space there. I put my Instagram handle in there as well. I do lives here and there. I got all types of wisdom and look, I can't help but to be funny because just like when I would, counsel people and everything, I'm look, we eventually gonna cry at something. So let's just start laughing first.
And the crying is good. The crying is good. I can't remember. I think it might have been this discussion or another discussion where we were talking about something, and it had to do with abuse, and one of the participants, they said, I feel like I'm tearing up, and that's okay because that's a release. We have to release that pain, and it comes through tears.
Like you said, we're energetic beings, right?
Yeah.
We're filling up like a container, and most of us are acting out or expressing our energy in some way, shape, or form through crying, right? Or we're avoiding that because of fear, and it comes out in anger or some other type of, should I say, behavior, which is kind of destructive. So yeah, let's go with the crime. I'm good with that.
Agreed. And thank you again. I'm thankful for you being here and your input, Marcus. I'm thankful, Sabine, for you, Elijah, Jessica, Nancee, Renelle, Althea. Thank you all so much for your input. I will definitely be adding all of our information in the description box in that description area on YouTube, and that way the viewers can contact us if they have questions, and also be able to purchase Marcus's book, Elijah, his products. Elijah, what's the name of the company that you sell, that the products that I had purchased for the melatonin? What's the name of your company again?
Yes, I'm working through Amway, and we sell products to United States and Canada, all types of products and vitamins, minerals, weight loss supplements, skincare, home cleaning things that are natural, all types of things. Anything that you would possibly most likely get from Amazon, you would be able to get it from my website store.
Beautiful. And I will take a deeper dive into your onto your Amway, into your business, because I did get the melatonin. What were you gonna say, Althea?
I just wanted to say that hopefully everyone is okay with being with this going up on YouTube as well.
Everyone's good with
Yes.
that?
Mm-hmm.
With the panel going up on YouTube. Hopefully everyone's okay with that.
Yes.
Cool. And Jessica, you also have you're also part of a business too, right? You also have a little bit, like, not a little bit, I didn't mean it like that. You have
No,
a
you're
project
fine.
going.
I actually represent Herbalife. I'm a wellness coach distributor from Herbalife, and it's actually going great. It's really dope how the universe aligns you in a path that is unexpected. Because I never, you know how you, when you're a teenager, you already got your mindset out what you want to do and what you want to be. I would have never thought I would be a fitness coach, and the fact that I am a fitness coach to women who are battered as well is like amazing, because I am in the right place. You know, in the fitness world, it has saved me a lot, you know, spiritually and emotionally and subconsciously. It helped me find myself more and working on myself. And, you know, when it comes to that self-love and self-care. So the fact that I experienced that and went through that, and I'm training girls that I once was them, and I can help them by my experience and lead them and guide them. It's just so cool. It's super. It's just really exciting, because it just lets me know that there's more to come. And if I could influence anyone positively with my vibes or with my experience, I feel like I'm doing my purpose.
And that program that you're with, and how you're integrating it with young women who've experienced abuse, is building their confidence. You know, it's putting
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's like they get so disappointed when I have emergencies and I can't attend to the training, because they rely on me and my energy, and it just helps them so much. It really does. It really does. Because the women, they're in it's so sad, because I mean, I have to be careful what I say, because I was once them. I don't want to sound too contradictful, but because I'm not the type to forget where I came from, but the fact that they have the strength to work out in the gym, and their husbands don't know about it, because they tell me that, please don't record me, please don't take pictures of me, because my husband doesn't know that I'm doing this. I tell them, you have balls, you have strength, you have, you know, heart, because when I was once you, I didn't have the balls to do this, not even to sneak behind his back. And the fact that you're doing it just tells me that you do have strength and you do have the ability. It just feels so great. It really does. It really does. I'm impacting them, and it gives me a purpose to wake up. Besides being a mom, it just gives me more of a purpose just to keep going, you know?
Thank you, Jessica. And like I
You're
said,
welcome.
we'll be adding your information in the description area below. And Sabine and Sabine and Nancee, if you guys have any projects coming up, you know, in the future, or any videos or links that you want us to see, like that comes up after any of our discussions or before the discussion, that you want us to add in the description bar, just let us know. I'm not too sure if you guys have any projects going right now, but I know you guys have a lot on your plate as it is. But always let us know, and we'll add it to the description box. But I just want to thank you guys again for coming out this evening. It was a wonderful conversation. I hope you guys have a fabulous vacation. I'll say it's a vacation. We're not really a big, you know, religious holiday thing, you know, not into the whole tradition, but you know, we like the fact that it's a time where we can come together and you know, do positive things, take this time off and share our love for each other, especially right now during this whole pandemic situation, which is a whole other topic. But we appreciate you guys taking the time out tonight and joining into the discussion. And hopefully the people who hear this, they can take something from it, and they can start working on their healing, and they can, you know, start planning their own journey and trying to adhere to that. And if they fall, it's okay, it happens, and not be hard on themselves. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you for the invitation. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Marcus. Appreciate everyone. Thank you all.
Yes,
Have a blessed one.
This was great.
Thanks, Elijah. Thank you, Lou.
You're welcome.
Bye. Thank you.
And have a happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Thank you
You
too.
too.
Bye, Nancee. Drive safely.